a new topic. Actually, we'll be wrapping up the topic. It's called polarization. And right, so before we move on, I'll ask you some questions, see if you can answer them. Can you tell me what are electromagnetic waves made up of? Why do we call them electromagnetic waves? What's unique about them? Right, electromagnetic waves are interaction of electric field and magnetic field. And these fields need to be what to each other in order for the wave to form perpendicular. Okay, so the diagrams that you see here, they're basically a representation of what a real electromagnetic wave should look like, right? However, obviously it's very difficult to draw these diagrams. So in your exam, when you're asked to draw an electromagnetic wave, you draw the front view, okay? Also, whenever we draw the lines, we usually tend to draw which lines? On a lines represent kora hoy, is it the electric field that we draw or is it the magnetic field that we draw? The electric field, right? Can you tell me why? Right, so the passage of your wave depends on whether the electric field can pass or not. So the one that we need to be concerned about is which one? The electric field, okay? So these lines that you see here, these are all electric field lines and electric fields basically from the front. They all have a pair of what with them as well. On each of these electric fields, magnetic field as well, right? But we don't draw the magnetic field because they don't really have an impact on our outcome, okay? So yeah, that's how the wave looks like. The topic that we have is to do with electromagnetic waves. So it's called polarization. So what is polarization? So polarization basically means that you have this wave, right, which is all the fields available in every direction, right? This is referred as the what kind of a wave? Unpolarized wave. What you do is you pass that wave through a polarizing filter like that, and we find that all of these can't pass through. What can only pass through? Yeah, the components and the fields that are what to the polarizing filter parallel, right? So এতগুলো pass না করে just vertical টা pass করবে and বাকিগুলোর কি pass করবে? Vertical components গুলো. So if you look at the blue one here, it has two components, right? A vertical component, horizontal component. Which one will be able to pass through? Just the vertical one. So you'll just have the light coming out that is one single plane of oscillation, right? We call this what? A plane polarized light. So what's the definition of a plane polarized light? It's a light that consists of oscillations in what plane? Single plane. Okay, so that's a plane polarized light. এটাকে কি বলা হয়? Unpolarized light. And that's what we have done so far. So we learned that if you have a light that is unpolarized and you pass it through a polarizing filter, it becomes plane polarized. How would that light look like? If you were looking at the light that got plane polarized, right? How would it differ? Dimmer, right? How much dim? Like comparatively to the previous one? Half. It's always half, okay? So the idea is that whenever light passes through a polarized filter or polarizing filter, the outcome is always going to be what the original value, half the original value, okay? Right, so that's what we have seen so far. There was something else we discussed last class, so to it clear. Did I show you the watch simulation? The watch's screen the change, okay? That is this one, okay? So this is an experiment or demonstration to prove plane polarization, right? So if I gave you a light and I told you it's plane polarized, how would you prove it to me? Because you can't really see the waves, right? So what are you supposed to do? So you take your light and you place a single polarizing filter in front of it. Ota ki korbe? Plane polarized korbe, right? Then how do you confirm that it has been plane polarized? You place another polarizing filter in front of it, and what do you do to that filter? You rotate it, right? And if you keep rotating it, the intensity কমে যাচ্ছে. My question for you, does the intensity decrease immediately or gradually? So our polarizing filters, okay? So two polarizing filters here. These are your polarizing filters, right? এখন হচ্ছে lines on them, so you know what the orientation is. এইটা ফিল্টারটা এরকম দেখতে, তোমরা কি দেখতে পারো দুই দিকে অ্যারোটা? And I have another filter here, like that. Okay, look at this. So, yep. So do you see the two filters? Right. And আমি কি করলাম, লাইট এখানে এটা রাখলাম. So would one only pass through one plane? I place this in front of it, like that. Yeah, কোনো change হবে না because both of them are going to pass through along pass through. As I rotate this gradually, right? Just as you see, then the brightness immediately becomes zero or gradually becomes gradually, right? Why? Right. So it of course, there's a path. They're not locked down. As you keep going like that, they're not locked down until you reach this kind of the world. You cross it, and this particular instance, and what is right that you see? Zero. Because what is the horizontal component of vertical line? Zero. Horizontal liner. Vertical liner, horizontal component key of it. Zero. Similarly, a horizontal line, vertical component zero. So that means there is no component that passes through the scenario. And what do you see? Darkness. আজকে আমরা যেটা দেখবো, that's new right now, is as you tilt it, right, bend করা হচ্ছে, a particular scenario that you see how it looks like, give a angle দেওয়া, what is the brightness? That we're going to find out. There's a math for it. Okay? So I'm going to protect the different angle and brightness কত আসবে ওটা বের করব. And that's what our chapter is. Okay? Polarization is all the Mollis law. MAULLSS. Mollis law. It's a formula. ওটা করব. So far তোমাদের past paper যে question গুলো আসছে ওই law নিয়ে আসছে. So it's a little tricky. Lawটা বুঝাবো তোমাকে eventually. So এটা হচ্ছে the experiment to demonstrate polarization. Okay? So this is demonstration of polarization. So if you want to show polarization has taken place, this is the experiment that you do. Expect this in your paper 2. Paper 2 that asha chance thake. It's a very small demonstration. Okay. So I'm going to note ta diye dichi. No, you can just draw a front view. It's a 3D chilo na tar ami dekhachi. 3D chilo na kintu. Ora 3D chilo. আচ্ছা আমি চেক করে দেখি 3D লাগছে না of course 3D draw করতে পারলে no one would be stopping you but হ্যাঁ 3D ছিল সরি সো এইটার জায়গায় তুমি যেটা ড্র করতে পারো এটা হচ্ছে এটা the front view so front view কিরকম দেখতে হবে you will have one plane here and the other one there. Right, this represents a what wave? The one I've drawn here, unpolarized, right? এটার সামনে তুমি filter place করবে. This is a 2D version, okay? তাহলে কি দেখা যাবে? Just a single plane like that. Do you agree? তোমরা যদি চাও দেখাতে কেমনে হচ্ছে তোমার ফিল্টারটা এভাবে শুরু করা হয়. This arrow represents which plane is allowed to pass through. And then you place another filter in front of it, যেটা হচ্ছে উল্টা দিকে. So it's like that. What would you see here? Nothing, okay? So no light. This is the 2D version. Like a schematic version, if you could say. Right, so that's the answer. I would prefer to the copy na karo. We started a little late, so I want to wrap up the topic. So এটা আমি যা বললাম so far, I'll read it out for you. To check if a light source is plane polarized, we place a polarizing filter in front of it. If the light is plane polarized, we'll notice that the intensity of light decreases, and becomes half the initial value. If we keep rotating the second filter, eventually, what will happen to the brightness? It goes to zero. No light is going through, and that's going to be at 90 degrees. So if you keep rotating, you'll notice that it becomes completely dark. And if you go back again, what will happen? It'll come back again. Okay, light. Okay, let's move on. এটা হচ্ছে তোমাদের যেটা করতে হবে page 42 তে যাও, go to page 42. Okay, let's try to understand the equation and what it refers to. So the equation is I equals to, so this is the equation for what? Equation for variation of intensity with filter rotation angle. Filter rotation angle. Do you understand what I meant? ওই যে ফিল্টার যে রোটেট করতেছি ওটার সাথে কেমনে ইন্টেন্সিটি ভ্যারি হয়. Question for you. Is it the first filter that needs to be rotated or the second filter, or it could be either of the two filters? মানে আমার হচ্ছে আবার বলি, I have a plain polarizing filter. I place the other one here. কোনটা রোটেট করতে হয়, the first one or the previous one, or either of them? Either. কেন বলি, আমি এটাকে এভাবে রেখে এটা করলে কি 90 হয় না, right? আবার এটাকে ফিক্স রেখে পিছনটাকে রোটেট করলে 90 হয় না. So the idea is that one of the two filters যেটা রোটেট করতে পারো, আচ্ছা, it doesn't need to be the first one or the second one. Second question for you. What if I just hold one filter in front of my light and I rotate it? What would I see? Yes, very good. No change. কেন? Because as you keep rotating, সব অ্যাঙ্গেলে কিছু না কিছু এন্টার করতে থাকে, right? But there'll be some change though, right? What would it be? Yeah, dimmer হবে. So যখনই তুমি একটা ফিল্টার লাইটের সামনে প্লেস করবে, first of all, first dim হবে, and then as you keep rotating it, ওই ডিমনেসটাই মেইনটেইন করবে. তারপরে ওটার সামনে যদি আরেকটা ফিল্টার দাও 90 ডিগ্রি, তখন what would you find? Darkness. Okay, so always আমাদেরকে ফার্স্টে কি করে নিতে হয়, লাইটটাকে প্লেন পোলারাইজ করে নিতে হয়, and after that we place another filter, and then you can do whatever you want with that filter. একটা সিঙ্গেল ফিল্টার দিয়ে কিছু করা পসিবল না if your original light is what? Unpolarized. If your original light is polarized, তাহলে ফার্স্ট ফিল্টার দিয়ে কাজ করবে, like the watch I showed. কারণ ওয়াচের লাইটটা ন্যাচারালি কি ছিল, প্লেন পোলারাইজ, so এটার উপরে কয়টা ফিল্টার প্লেস করতে হলো? Just one, right? Okay, so yeah, this is the variation of intensity with rotation angle. Let's see what the equation is. So the equation is I equals to, উপরে দেওয়া আছে, but I'll re-explain this. I naught cos square theta. I হচ্ছে intensity observed, I naught হচ্ছে original intensity, and angle টা হচ্ছে angle between vertical and rotation. আচ্ছা, একটু বুঝো এদিকে. This is all about understanding equationটা. In fact, I feel like exam দিয়ে দেওয়ার কথা. I haven't seen the latest question paper, but দেওয়া উচিত. Okay, না দিলেও let's see what's going on here. So you have your equation here, which is I equals to I naught cos squared theta. Before I start explaining this, there has been only 2 questions on this in your past paper, because this was introduced in 2022 last year. So একটা ছিল specimen paper আর একটা ছিল in the actual exam. Okay, and both the questions on polarization chapter has been on this equation so far. আমরা যেগুলা করে আসছি ওটার উপরে না, so maybe ওগুলা আসতে পারে এবার. Okay, but so far it has been the math. So let me try to explain what's happening here. So you have your light here whose initial intensity is I naught, and আমি এখানে হচ্ছে লাইটটা পাস করতেছে through the filter. Okay, this is the direction of light, and the light comes out from the other side. What intensity do I expect to see? So আমার যদি অরিজিনালটা I naught থাকে and I pass it through a polarizing filter that is aligned with it, মানে দুইটা সেম যদি বুঝছো কেমনে সেম উপরে একটা arrow দেওয়া, right? What would the intensity be? না I naught by 2 হয় যখন একটা unpolarized কে polarize করা হয়. It is already polarized. দেখো left এ plane polarized. I naught same থাকবে, কোনো চেঞ্জ আসবে না। তোমাদের কনফিউশনটা আবার ক্লারিফাই করি। দেখো আমার যদি একটা লাইট থাকে দ্যাটস unpolarized, মানে কি? Yeah, it has multiple planes out there. ওইটার সামনে যদি একটা filter place করি, the first filter, what would the intensity become? Half. Okay, ওই half এর সামনে যদি আরেকটা filter place করি, that's aligned, কি হবে? Same, I naught by 2, ওইটাকে 90 ডিগ্রি রোটেট করলে কি হবে? 0। বুঝছো জিনিসটা? সো প্লেন পোলারাইজের সামনে যদি একটা অ্যালাইন করা প্লেন পোলারাইজিং ফিল্টার রাখো, চেঞ্জ আসবে না কিন্তু। সো হোয়াট am I expect to see here? I naught, right? But now we won't rely on that anymore. আমরা ম্যাথ করে বের করতে পারবো কেমনে? If I want to find the intensity, I equals to I naught, right, cos square থেটাটা স্টুডেন্টদের প্রবলেম হয়। থেটাটা হচ্ছে তোমার লাইট যে প্লেনে আসতেছে আর তোমার যে ফিল্টার ওইটার মাঝখানের অ্যাঙ্গেলটা। Do you understand? It's not actually what the angle of the plane is. It is the angle between the filter and the plane. So আমার যদি filter এটা হয়, right? And if my light is this, right? And they're like that, parallel, right? What's the angle between them? 0. Do you agree? So এখানে যদি 0 বসে আমরা, can somebody tell me what is the answer? What is cos 0? 1, right? So answer কি থাকবে? I is equal to what? I naught. Do you see? It's the same. So that means maximum intensity পাওয়া যায় when the filter is what to the plane? Parallel. And a parallel মানে হচ্ছে angle কত এখানে? Theta equals to 0 degree. Students get confused here. They take theta 90 here. That's not true. It's the angle between the plane and the wave. Okay, মানে যেটা যাচ্ছে এটা some students try to understand this by the concept of bearing. You know what bearing is? 90 degree থেকে angle নিতে হয়েছে ওইটার সাথে রিলেট করা যায়। I think it's a little risky. কারণ এক্সামে যদি এইটাকে আমার রেফারেন্স দেয় তখন বেয়ারিং কিন্তু 90 ডিগ্রি চলে আসে। Whereas আমার যদি এই দুইটাও প্যারালাল থাকে, what is the angle still? 0, right? So I don't think bearing is the right way forward. Okay, so far the questions have been in such a way that you can apply bearing, right? But I feel like let's keep it simple. The angle between your plane and the filter, simple. Okay, or এইভাবে থাকলে problem নাই because it's still 0. Okay, so yeah, that is the theta there. Now let's start to rotate this. Okay, so screen it to দেখো, আমি চারটা অপশন দেখাবো, তারপর we'll get into the more complicated math out there. Right, এখানে what would you see? I'll tell you the value. This has been rotated. ওরা এক্সামে যখন বলে ওরা বলে how much has been rotated. Okay, the filter has been rotated here by an angle of 30 degree. So rotated at 30 degree angle. Can you tell me how would the intensity look like right now? It'll be I naught 3 I naught by 4. 75% of the I naught. Try করে দেখো কি আসে. Make sure it's in degree mode. কি আসে তোমাদের? 0.5. Did you take cos 30 and did you square it? What's cos 30 squared? Right, 0.75. Right, so how do you do this? I equals to I naught cos squared theta. I do hope that you know cos squared theta means cos theta whole squared. So equals to I naught cos 30 whole squared, that is 3 by 4 I naught, which means আমি যদি লাইটটাকে দেখি, I would notice that it is dimmer, 75% of the original version, right? So yeah, this is getting lower. So as I keep rotating this, আমরা এখন যাব to the angle that we have been talking about. What if I rotate this, right, fully? 90 degrees. Can you tell me what would I notice? What's the intensity? 0, right? So this is theta equals to 30 degrees. Let's see for theta equals to 90 degrees. So it's going to be I equals to I naught cos squared theta. Cos 90 is actually 0. Okay, so I naught cos 90 squared. So you basically get I as 0. Therefore, we see no light. This is minimum when filter is perpendicular. তোমার কি ইকুয়েশন ইউজ করতে বুঝছো somewhat? আচ্ছা তাহলে draw a graph for me. Graph of angle versus intensity. How does graph look like? Go from 0 to 360 degree full rotation. No, independent would be angle, right? I want actual variation with the angle. Easiest, চিন্তা করো, I think পারবো তোমরা। Right, what would you name that shape? Parabola তো U হয়। এই যে এরকম। তারপর কি করবে? আবার এরকম করবে? From 0 to 180 to 360. হ্যাঁ, তারপর right, correct. তারপর 180 the maximum. তারপর আবার আচ্ছা, okay. I'll tell you what it should be. Sine curve. I'm very confused. Why are you guys so hesitant to say that one thing that's already in the equation? What's wrong with that word? Oh, you said cost curve. But you said modulus of cost. Modulus of cost কিন্তু খুবই different একটা graph. ওটা এদিকে গিয়ে এরকম হয়ে এভাবে যায়। I'll tell you what this is. It's a translated cosine graph. Do you know what translation means? Translation হচ্ছে তোমার গ্রাফটিকে উপরে নিয়ে যাওয়া হয়। So it's a fully positive cosine graph. মানে it never crosses the zero axis. Okay? So এটা দেখতে এরকম হবে। You guys are right. ওই parabolic quadratic equation মতন হবে, but ওটা একটু different. ওইটা যে লোয়ার পার্টের সাথে ম্যাচ করতো। এটা হচ্ছে এই গ্রাফটা হবে। So yeah, this base would be 90 degree. The peak would be again 180 degree. The base would be how much? 270. And these are the places where my intensity is going to be I naught, the maximum possible value. Okay. Yes, yes. As you keep rotating it, there'll be 2 times that happens. থাকলে বলো। বলো কনফিউশন। Sure. You guys seem confused. What is it? Oh, this one. It's very uninteresting. It's a drain. Yeah. Full leakage. Oh, no, no. Acha, let me explain this graph here. A graph is essentially cosine graph, right? Square kole ja hoy. So normal cosine graph kintu goes to the negative axis and then comes back up like that, right? আর তুমি যদি মডুলাস নাও তাহলে কিন্তু ডিফারেন্ট হয়, এটা এরকম এসে নিচেরটা উপরে চলে আসে, তারপরে এটা হয়। আর cos গ্রাফকে স্কোয়ার করলে it's entirely on the y-axis. আচ্ছা, so এই জিনিসটা does double repeat হয় because all the negative values become positive value. I know you haven't done this, তার জন্য এটা আলাদা করে করালাম because I don't think cosine square graph plot করা হয় in your math, no? Right, so এটা এরকম দেখতে হয়. Physics is there multiple places, okay? So you just have to know the shape. It's not modulus, just keep that in mind, okay? Modulus is different. Right, so that is your polarization. There are a few questions that I need to do before I can say that these are completely done. So ওগুলো আমরা question paper এ করার সময় করব, okay? Right now I just want to clarify the confusions that you have. আচ্ছা, এই জিনিসটা একটু বুঝে নিতে হবে। Also, do you guys remember what was the relationship between amplitude and intensity? Intensity is proportional to amplitude square, right? So তোমাদের past paper, a couple of questions have appeared as MCQ where a question take intensity na diye, they made this into what? Amplitude. Would it make any difference? চিন্তা করে দেখো। Intensity is proportional to amplitude square. So wouldn't it be amplitude square equals to amplitude naught square cos square theta? What can you do to all of them? So amplitude relation is just cosine function, not the square function. বুঝছো? আচ্ছা, আমি দেখা দিচ্ছি, don't worry. Okay, look at this. Just for practically, you know, the question. Okay. So you have an polarized light here. You have one filter provided here, and that filter produces the plain polarized light like that. Are you so far? Well, just polarized light in many different things like that. We place one filter that has lines like that, and then we have these lines that are available, right? So the light is polarized. এখন filterটি needs to be rotated 30 degrees to create darkness. মানে আমরা এটাকে 30 rotate করতে হবে, make it dark. how much does this filter be rotated so that এটাকে 30 degree rotate করলে dark হয়? মানে আমার হচ্ছে দুইটা ফিল্টার দিয়ে I want the light to leave away. Okay, so one of them is unknown, the other one is 30 degree rotate করা হচ্ছে। এটাকে 30 degree rotate করবো so that the light is completely blocked. Yeah, because you have already rotated here, you have to move the rest of the angle to make it 90, right? So how much is that? 660, right? The problem was in your mark scheme, in the MCQ question, 60 wasn't an option. Because if you know from math, 60 ja hoy eta onno jaygaye achieve korte parbo in a circle. Like if I have 30 degree, right? Wouldn't I be able to achieve that same alignment somewhere else as well? What is it? 330. হ্যাঁ মানে এটা এদিকে 30 গেল না, তার মানে ওটা কি 360 থেকে নিচে আবার 30 গেল। So what is that angle there? 330. Wait, তোমরা সার্কেলটা চিন্তাছ আমি বলি। If I have a circle, right, and it starts from here and you go 30 degree that side, that is 30 degree this side, right? But how much is it all the other way around? 330, right? So that means you can rotate it this way 30, or you can go all the other way 330. You get my point, right? Acha. So it will be base for ekhane jodi 60 hoy, like I can rotate this first filter or the other filter 60 degree. Wouldn't I also be able to rotate it 300 degree the other way, right? So yeah, sometimes in the options provided in the exam, you'll find that your answer is not available, but what is available though? The alternate version. So always watch out for that, okay? So it's not always going to be your angle, it can be also the other way around. But rotation to কোনো direction, you can just do the other way around as well, right? Okay. We have one more, the amplitude equation. Just heads up there, because of your question paper not being that plentiful with these kind of questions. So key this chapter has been there in Edexcel for years, 10 years almost. Unfortunately, Edexcel, they don't have math. This is the theory part. So math that's like completely blank for us. We have to speculate কি আসে। Right. এটা just কোনো এক জায়গায় add করে রাখো amplitude relationship. It is not a square relationship, it's just a basic cost relationship. Done. Okay. Right. So that was the pendant part of polarization. Our main topic starts here. So don't just heads up there, Rakhi. Next 4 or 5 classes key for Bamra. It's a topic called stationary waves. Okay. So if you have any trouble with what we have done so far, right, it shouldn't bother here because it's looking for a start for us. So what we have finished is called wave properties. And wave properties are more than the last part was polarization. Okay, so that's done. This is a new topic. You can take the word, it says stationary waves. This is from your syllabus 8.1. Stationary waves are more, we will learn a thing called superposition. We'll learn an idea where waves interfere and they create a new shape, right? And etar pore there'll be another topic, my waves ki baki bole dicchi, that is something called diffraction gradient, double slit diffraction interference experiments, ওই জিনিসগুলো। Okay, এটা হয়ে গেলে waves done. এটা হয়ে গেলে you can call your syllabus 85% done. Okay, মানে এটা হয়ে গেলে the thing that will be left is just electricity. I think I already mentioned it's your O-level electricity with some new ideas out there, so it shouldn't take much time. And last chapter which can be done in like 3 days. It's called particle physics. It's just alpha, beta, gamma, remember, OE properties, nothing else. Okay, so yeah, just এটা যদি আমরা ভালোভাবে কভার করতে পারি, you can start, solving question papers. Question number 30 পর্যন্ত solve হয়ে যাবে. And you have 40 questions out there. Finishing this chapter means we can solve until question 30. That's like most of the paper, right? So you shouldn't wait for me to finish the syllabus. You can start right away. You shouldn't wait. That's because at the point you'll be overwhelmed. So many questions, so little time, right? I mean, till right now you can do till question number 25. The poor fellow, that's like more than half the paper, right? Just start solving them. All right. Anyways, what is superposition and what are we gonna do with it? So I'll need to teach you an idea. It is called phases. Okay, phase and path. So let's look what this is. I'll give you a start today. Next class I'll show the details. Phase and path differences. Should we do topicals now or start yearly? You can start yearly. I think why not? My question number 25 পর্যন্ত তো পারবা. So just do them. বাকি যে 15 question থাকে, do it once we're done. At least half of your work is done. Which year? 2019 and after. I mean যখন এমনি ক্লাসে ডিসকাস করব 2019 and after ডিসকাস করব. And obviously these chapters that I've provided here come with the review questions. So we're answering 80 days because apparently last time you couldn't find it. So answers are provided with the questions. Just MCQs. MCQ the পাও নাই? I think it's there. I saw it yesterday there. নাকি তোমাদের এই যে এখানে structured গুলো নাই, এখানে structured গুলো আমি চেষ্টা করতেছি compile করে দিতে. I randomly selected the questions, so I didn't really have the answers with me. But yeah, structured গুলো করব আমরা ক্লাসে করব. All right, so let's see what this is. Show my screen. What's phase and path difference? So before that, we'll try to see how waves are actually compared. So if I have a wave and I don't have a diagram of a wave and I want to show a person the wave, right? What would I tell the person about the wave? And at the wave, can you explain korte chai, like I have a wave that I want to talk about. What properties of the wave do I tell you? Amplitude, frequency, wavelength, and one more. Time period, right? So I can also find the what of the wave, speed, right? So now I know exactly what you're talking about. It's very easy for me to picture, right? So there are waves that I've drawn here. So I've given all the information provided here. But unfortunately, there's a part of a wave that we have not addressed yet. Look at this. What if there are two waves, right? And they're exactly identical. Whatever you said, quantity ogla shob ekdom same. Amplitude, wavelength, frequency, everything is same, but they look like this. So the red and the blue, right? Working the same wave. Everything is same about them. But are they exactly same? Something's off about them, right? There's like a gap out there. What is this gap? So how do we explain this gap? That's what we're gonna learn today. Etake bola hoy phase or path difference. Acha, a gapta is very important in our syllabus because when two waves have a gap in them, right, they will start behaving a little differently. You get my point? So tomra jodi ekhane red wave upore thako and your friend is on the blue wave, right? You both won't be doing the same thing at the same time. Do you agree with that? Karon red jokhon top e, blue kothay? Zero te. You see in the graph je dekho red jokhon ekdom top e, blue matro start korlo na pura process ta. So can I say that they're entirely the same thing? No, right? So there's some difference out there. How do we explain this difference? So এটার জন্য I'll be doing something that I believe you have done in math before. So একটু দেখো স্ক্রিনে, এটা নেক্সট ক্লাসে বুঝাবো না, সো আজকে এটা wrap up করতে হবে. If I draw a circle here, right, with an arm, screen away. Apparently student find it complicated. As this arm starts to move along the circle, right, what has been covered by the arm? Angle, right? Angle cover করা হচ্ছে. So you'll find like a theta there. A angle is, let's say, 30 degrees, right? And this arm has moved there. Can anyone tell me what in this graph represents sine and cosine? What in this diagram represents sine and cosine? This is something you did in math, and I believe students usually skip it. So I'm the physics like, unfortunately. So what is the sine here and what is the cosine here? Acha, okay. Did you just guess that? You have done this before? Acha, okay. So I'll explain. এটাকে বলা হয় unit circle. This is the origin of trigonometric graphs. So trigonometry যে graph গুলো আছে না, they actually come from here. I'll teach you how, okay? So do you see this height at the opposite part? Is a height that is actually the value of sine function, okay? And do you see the base that this arrow has created? That is the which function? Cosine function. Why does that matter to us? Let me show you. So আমার যদি এই লাইনটি এরকম থাকে, right, that's my sine, and blue টা আমার কি? Cosine, right? If this arm starts to move further up, এই আর্মটাকে আমি একটু উপরে অন্য অ্যাঙ্গেলে নিয়ে গেলাম, what becomes taller? Right? Sine বাড়তেছে. What becomes shorter? Cosine. And if I keep doing that like that, right, ধরো যে এই জায়গায় আসলাম, wouldn't this get even taller? Right? But what gets shorter? Cosine, right? And as I reach the top here, what is the value of the sine? Maximum, right? এই যে full হয়ে যাচ্ছে. What is the value of cosine? And এই প্রত্যেকটা angular value of the height কে তুমি plot করো in a graph, what graph do you get? Sine graph. এই যে তুমি এখানে যে নোটিস করো, I already have done half the sine graph on the top. আমি যদি পিছে কন্টিনিউ করি, I'll get the other half. তারপর নিচে যাব, তারপর উপরে যাব. What will I end up with? The sine function. আর আমি যদি নিচেরটা ইউজ করি, I'll end up with what function? Cosine function. This is called the unit circle. This is where trigonometric ratios and graphs come from, right? Why are we learning this here? So it turns out if your value goes all the way around and comes back here, like, full 360 degree যদি আমি করি এখানে একটা, right? What do I have in terms of an angle? 360, and my values would change accordingly. So which means that we can now represent, let's get to the important part, a wave in terms of what? Angle. So this is going to be what here? 0. What do you think is going to be this peak value at the center when the line became the highest? 90, right? That's how much in radian? 5/2. তারপর লাইনটা কি আবার সাইডে গিয়ে ফ্ল্যাট হয়ে যাচ্ছে না? What is the value there? Yeah, 180. And what's my sine value? 0, right? So that's pi. তারপর লাইনটা কি আবার নিচে গিয়ে maximum হচ্ছে, but what maximum? Negative maximum. Do you see it's a negative maximum there? What is the value there? 3 pi by 2. And then it comes back to the origin. What is that? 2 pi, right? Why are we using this? The reason why we're using this is I can now compare two waves using this diagram. Let me show you. I'll wrap up. So আমার যদি blue লাইনটা এটা হয়, okay, this is my blue wave, and I have a red wave here, okay? So blue and red, এই দুইটাকে যদি আমি হচ্ছে এভাবে নিয়ে I move them around, do you see that as they're moving around, if they're moving around, there's a constant what between the two lines? দুইটা red line আর blue line এর মাঝখানে একটা গ্যাপ দেখা যাচ্ছে না? What is that gap in terms of an angle, right? And that is called phase difference. That's the difference in two waves in terms of what? Their angle. So আমার এই ব্লুটা যদি একটা ওয়েভ হয় আর রেডটা যদি আরেকটা ওয়েভ হয়, ওদের মাঝখানের অ্যাঙ্গেলটা যদি 45 degrees হয়, what can I say? That the phase difference between the two waves is how much? 45 degrees, which means আমার গ্রাফে যদি আমি এটা ড্র করতে যাই, can you predict where should this blue be? So blueটা যদি এখানে হয়, direction of, if the blue is exactly on top of it, what is the difference? Is 0. যদি ব্লুটা এখানে আসে, what is the difference between the red and the blue? 90. I said what? 45. Where should that be? Yes, AJ. There you go. That is the representation of a phase difference of 45 degrees. Okay. So my explanation here is to explain why we use angle for difference, because they're part of the circle system. Okay. So yeah, this is called phase difference. Eta we'll do a lot next class. So this is just introduction to it.